The Oskaloosa Water Board met in special session on Friday afternoon to consider hiring Burns & Rupke as the firm to help them fill the general manager's position. The Friday meeting was a continuation of the special meeting they held on Monday. Outgoing Oskaloosa Water Department General Manager Chad Kuhn outlined the decisions made at Friday's meeting and spoke about what's in store for his future.
So the board decided that they were going to move ahead with an exclusive retained search with Burns & Rupke out of Waterloo, Iowa for filling the position that I will be vacating here, general manager's position for the water department.
In other action with the board, they decided to name an interim general manager to help keep the department running smoothly as the search takes place for a new general manager.
So we have an internal employee that's been here for 5 years, and he's really progressed up through the ranks and gotten the different certifications. And that was my recommendation to the board, was that they look at putting Matt Van Wyck in this interim position. So in my absence, he would be able to fulfill some of the administrative duties and help continue to guide the department in the direction it needs to go, whether it's the water side or the sanitary storm sewer side, because he's got knowledge in both. And just it's important that we minimize the disruptions to the customers and operations, and that the flow is smooth. Hopefully we reduce any hiccups, any speed bumps along the way, and we can keep things running in a smooth manner, and just have great, we don't want to try and burden the customers with stuff. We really want to make sure that the service stays top notch, and that they don't notice the issues that are going on.
Kuhn's last day in that position will be May 3rd, 2019, and then he begins his new position with the Waterloo Water Department on May 6, 2019.
Transitioning right from one end to the other.
Kuhn's position will be different in Waterloo from what it has been here in Oskaloosa.
It will be different but the same. It's still a general manager's position. It's still under a board, so similar to Oskaloosa, but water only. There won't be any more storm, water, sanitary. That is something that's separate within the city of Waterloo.
The National Weather Service office, located in Des Moines, Iowa, sent representatives to the Vermeer Corporation's Global Pavilion on Monday night to conduct storm spotter training for area residents and first responders. The Vermeer Global Pavilion sustained damage from an EF3 tornado that ripped into the manufacturing facility on July 19, 2018. The building was full to capacity, providing shelter to employees and guests as the storm roared by. 2 buildings sustained such severe damage that they had to be removed, and new buildings are planned to replace what was lost. Marion County Emergency Manager Jeff Anderson spoke with Oskaloosa News about that day and how the community is moving forward after the storm.
It is, and it was very gracious of Vermeer to allow us to host it here. I felt like hosting it here, kind of at ground zero, if you will, would probably garner some additional interest.
The auditorium at the Vermeer facility was nearly full on Monday night as training got underway. Those trained spotters played a vital role last year in helping to provide the warning that ultimately kept people safe.
We were very fortunate to have as many public safety officers, most of them law enforcement, basically had this storm surrounded, as it moved down here from Jasper County. Very fortunate to have those trained people on it where they could communicate. We knew kind of what was going to happen, what was coming.
After the fact, it was discovered there were 3 tornadoes that moved through the Pella and Marion County area. Having trained spotters aiding law enforcement and tracking severe weather is important and was a big aid when the tornado tracked through largely rural portions of the county.
So if we can just have a couple sets of extra eyes, out there that know what they're seeing, that can relay that to public safety, that allows us to warn the bigger populations like here in Pella.
In Marion County, Anderson says the population takes those watches and warnings different now. The response from the public was evident in watches and warnings that came after the July tornado. Anderson says that his office is there to help employers and residents of Marion County be prepared for disasters.
We are, and we're getting spread a little bit thin, but everybody has been very patient with us so far. We're doing our very best to get around and help everybody that we can. Vermeer, weathered that storm, no pun intended, as well as they did because they had prepared for it. They had trained their employees for it. And they had planned for it and built some storm shelters in the plants, and ultimately that's what saved lives.
Anderson encouraged everyone to prepare themselves and their businesses for severe weather, because you just never know. Vermeer has been praised for their preparedness for such a disaster, and those plans undoubtedly helped to save lives. Preparedness is everything, says Anderson of the Vermeer tornado of 2018. It was the 7th tornado to hit Marion County since 2008. On Monday evening, the Vermeer plant became a storm-ready supporter due to their disaster planning. Jeff Johnson with the National Weather Service in Des Moines said that last July was an example of having a good plan in place and executing it. Billy Fox, Vermeer Manufacturing Chief of Security, was presented an award for his life-saving efforts the day the tornado struck. Over a dozen people gathered at the new Environmental Learning Center just east of Oskaloosa on Saturday morning to learn more about maple syrup. Laura Cook, Mahaska County naturalist, was on hand to teach about the process of collecting the sap from the trees and refining it into syrup. The yearly event was moved from Evelyn Access along the Des Moines River to the Environmental Learning Center this year due to flooding. The maple trees that provide the sap along the river have been impacted by the spring floods. Early spring is when the sap begins to move, and the Mahaska County Conservation Department would have been out weeks ago tapping the trees.
Usually we start in February, the latest first part of March, and we'll spend an entire week collecting sap, and we'll evaporate it and finish it within a week, week and a half. And there are people that are still out there that can access the areas, and it's the prime time when the temperatures during the day are above freezing and the nighttime temperatures are below freezing, and there's more daylight hours. What's happening is the trees are coming out of dormancy from the winter, and the sap is flowing through the trees, so it makes it a perfect time to collect sap, which in turn can be turned into maple syrup.
The sap is stored in the root system and is now being pushed through the tree to bring it out of dormancy.
In the fall, the sap flows down into the root system of the trees, stays there below the frost line during the winter, and in the spring it works its way back up.
When it comes to evaporating the sap into syrup, it can be a very lengthy process.
If you consider about 40 gallons of sugar maple sap will eventually be evaporated into 1 gallon of syrup. So there is a lot of water to take out of the sap, and it's a slow process. It's not a fast boiling at first. It's a slow heat up the sap enough just so it starts evaporating into the air.
The Conservation Department has a wood stove they use.
It will take us a good 12 hours to get through the first process, and then 3 or 4 more hours of finishing it. Yep. Well, the best trees to use are maple varieties, and there are quite a few here in Iowa. Sugar maple has the most sugar content in the sap, so you will get the best product out of the sugar and black maple, actually, those kind of trees. The sooner you get it in the spring, the sap I'm referring to, the better quality of syrup you will have, better taste. You can collect it later on, but it'll affect the color and the taste.
Those in attendance were able to enjoy a sample of the maple syrup on some ice cream. Unfortunately, with the flooding, no new syrup was produced, so they used last year's syrup.
We will continue this every year, and we've been promoting that we would like to find volunteers. If this is something anybody would else like to help with next year, we can get you out in the field and teach you the process hands-on as we do it, and we would love to have volunteers.
Well, I love it.
I know, right? I saw it and I was just like, oh, I have to have it.
Is it suede?
It's suede. Love suede.
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments, there's one of these.
Well, I love it. I know, right? I saw it and I was like, have to have it. Is it suede? It's suede. I love suede.
That's why we're there with renter's insurance when things go wrong, but also here with a rewards credit card to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Wendell Campbell in Oskaloosa today.
Pollinators have gotten a lot of attention in the past few years as their populations continue to suffer. Bees and butterflies are significant players in the local ecology. On Tuesday evening, the ISU Extension Office in Oskaloosa hosted a butterfly house workshop that would help interested parties build a wood shelter to protect the fragile insects from things like weather and predation. Suzette Striegel is the county horticulturist with the Mahaska County ISU Extension Office, who played host for the workshop.
As many people know, butterflies are having a little problem with keeping their populations at acceptable levels. So anything that you can do to help them, be it planting food sources for the caterpillars, planting food sources for the butterflies, or providing shelter for them. And also could include having a water source within your garden for the butterflies. Anything that you can do to help those populations rise is a good thing to do. And so one of the things is having shelter. Now that can come from natural sources like trees and shrubs, but it also can come from an artificial source like a house like we're making today. It's got a little space for the butterflies to get inside, and then it's got you put roosting materials in there for them to relax on while they're taking shelter.
Many are familiar with the plight that the monarch butterflies are experiencing, but Striegel says it's not just the monarchs that are struggling. Butterflies play an important role in the environment.
They do help us with a lot of our pollination, and they're going to visit pretty much any kind of flower that's out there. They'll have their preferred sources, but they'll pretty much visit any kind of flower. So this is a great reason to plant flowers, because the entire growing season they need flowers to visit.
Wayne Van Mersbergen put hours of prep into the class. Not being familiar with what a butterfly house was, Van Mersbergen set out to make one.
Well, it's working with wood. I enjoy doing that, but one of the unique things is, a birdhouse, you usually see a round hole. Well, butterfly, you don't have round holes, they flop out their wings. Well, how are they going to get in there? It's a little slot. So I thought that was very unique. And then also, we put birch or some bark, tree branches inside so that when they fly in there, they have something to roost on.
For Van Mersbergen, building the butterfly house piqued an interest in the pollinator.
I've had a little bit of interest. They're very colorful creatures, lightweight, just fluttering around. I've been to some butterfly houses where they, you walk in, they're all flying around, and it's just really unique there. But yeah, this piqued my interest more, so I'm anxious to get it located in my landscape where we can see it from the patio or from the front window. Let's see what happens.
The sounds of a full band were heard emanating from the Oskaloosa Art Center on Saturday evening as the Trubank Winter Concert Series wrapped up. Kyle Ewing has a background in the music industry, and he worked in conjunction with the Oskaloosa Art Center and its board to help make the concert series a reality.
The Winter Concert Series was 3 shows, January, February, March, put together just as a way to kind of bring awareness to the Art Center and bring more people out who might not have either known that it existed or that otherwise just maybe wouldn't have come out for a gallery opening or something like that, or a class, and maybe now they will, that they've been here and kind of seen what it's like. And it all kind of started with I was helping out with the Art Center to kind of bring more music in. They were doing open mic nights, but they wanted to do more structured shows and more specific shows. So in September of 2018, we did kind of like a trial run of a show. We had a couple of smaller punk bands come in just to see if we could even have a live band in this setting. And it was a little rowdy, but it kind of went well, and it kind of showed us what we could do and what we couldn't do. So in November and December of last year, we started putting things together to have the Winter Concert Series, figure out what we needed to bring in, who we needed to bring in, and what we needed to do to make that happen.
On the final night of the concert series, the Desharm Jones Band from Des Moines played on the stage at the Art Center.
Yeah, they're great. They're performing right now. This is actually the first full band that we've had for the Winter Concert Series. In January, we had a singer-songwriter guy named Adam Bruce from Des Moines as well. Again, kind of that Americana alt-country vibe. In February, we had the Kintafios, a vocal jazz duo from Fairfield. And yeah, so we've had kind of the stripped back or stripped down stuff, and now we're kind of experimenting with the full band, and I think it's going really well.
There was more than Ewing that helped to make the Winter Concert Series possible. The board from the Oskaloosa Art Center played an integral part.
They've all been really welcoming me in and letting me kind of do my thing and trusting me that we're going to make the right decisions on using their space. We also had huge help from TrueBank as the title sponsor for the series. It is the TrueBank Winter Concert Series. And yeah, they've been super helpful, providing free popcorn every time, and putting it up even on their sign on the roadway, you know, sponsor or promoting it and helping sponsor it. We had Oski Vision Center one night as a sponsor. Tara Rosaboom has been a huge help. She did all the place settings every night on the tables and put lights up and curtains and all kinds of stuff just to try to make the room not only look better but different every time as well. Also, the alley was huge help because they provided their tables that were in storage at the time while obviously it's winter outside. So we used their tables and chairs to kind of change up the atmosphere a little bit, and yeah, they've been such a huge help in allowing us to do that. So
for Ewing, he's definitely already thinking of next year and its possibilities.
Yeah, we'll definitely, you know, see what we can do, try to go bigger, and yeah, bigger and better. Maybe instead of